Beautiful people, welcome back to the Virty Performance Podcast for the last time for at least 9 months. Frosty, how are you, mate?
Unless we do an online one.
We could do an online one.
But yes, unfortunately.
Work out time difference and stuff.
First one in about 9 months and last one for at least 9 months.
I know, right? What's been happening?
Just moving away, just bouncing.
Frosty's getting out of here. It's heartbreaking.
Such a shit answer, but yeah, like just the last few months has just been occupied with planning to move onto the other side of the globe.
Love that. We'll talk about like why and like what led you to the decision and all of the processes you went through. But what's the plan? Give us the quick download.
Yeah, there's probably two main like pillars that are driving the move. First is like business related, and then second one's just sort of fulfillment and travel related. Not that the business doesn't also lead to fulfillment, but very much want to lean into just my sole focus being just growing my own business. As Lachie stands up and checks the camera, we're rolling.
I just had a thought. I was like, did I press record?
I've done that a few times as well. The first one being I just want to just solely just focus on growing my own business. Like I guess that old where attention goes, energy flows
put that on
adage.
A t-shirt.
And sort of feel like probably the last 5-6 years of my life, I feel like I've been chasing multiple rabbits but catching none. Yeah. So I just want to chase and focus on one rabbit being my business, and also wanting to lean into an online space as well. It's a good opportunity to have, exposure to maybe hundreds, if not thousands of people that you otherwise wouldn't have had exposure to. And then the second one as well, just very much being just travel, like you're on Europe's doorstep and you got access to other countries that you otherwise wouldn't have had access to being in isolated old Australia.
Yeah. And you scratched the itch a little bit a couple of years ago, right? So
yeah.
Did that trip kind of bring you down this path, or was it something else?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like when I got back from that trip, I very much, there was this itch to scratch where I was like, oh, it'd be cool to like actually properly live there and immerse and not just stop over for a few week visit, but actually what would it be like to live in another country? But I know then I just got stuck back into work. Like obviously, like there were a few things that trip sort of, cause like that's the first time I'd had 3 months essentially doing nothing in my whole life.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I'd had time to sort of be bored and do nothing. And in those times, you sort of learn a lot about what you actually want to do to fill your time. And one of them was to lean more into sort of growing my own stuff, which I was sort of like doing.
Yeah, you're dabbling with, right?
Dabbling a little bit. Like I'd been dabbling since like 2019 when I was in Ballarat, but had never just had it be my full focus or wanted to lean more into that.
Yeah.
And the second was to play tennis, which I did that for a little bit and then fucked my elbow. We're back in that now.
Yeah.
And then third was to actually, what would it be like to properly immerse in another country? But just got back and got stuck into work and probably felt like I owed Virtus a little bit as well, like to essentially what you did for me when I first moved here, like gave me a place to rest my head and a place to a community to be a part of. And the amount like you invested in me and my sort of business development and sales and leaning into the partnership stuff, I felt like I'd owed a bit there. So I really wanted to get stuck in and sort of pay it back to Virtus, but then also lean into my own coaching as well. And sort of a year down the line was just back into it, and moving away just seemed illogical. So we'll get into it in a moment. But then a few things sort of changed, and it seemed like a real opportunity this year to sort of lean into that, and not a last opportunity, but it sort of felt like it's just as good an opportunity as I'll ever get this year to do that.
There's stars aligning this year that makes it a little bit less friction to get over there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're on it, talk us through that decision-making process. Like, obviously, was it, 18 months now you got back? Something like that, along those lines?
September 2023 I got back. So,
that's not bad for me. Months. I'm usually terrible with timelines. And then, you kind of leant back in and you've been working hard on Virty stuff and your own coaching for the last 18 months essentially.
Yeah. So
what took you from like the life essentially you're like, this is the life I want to live, to now like, let's try something different? Yeah,
it was probably mid last year where I mentioned in like a little video I did to the Virtus members, I mentioned how like I've never been so fulfilled and comfortable, but at the same time that comfortability, is that a word?
Comfort.
That comfort is probably a better word. That comfort is also sort of bred at times unfulfillment and boredom and fuck, is this, as good as this is this it? Like, is this actually all there is? which like, you don't want to get into the trap of life just being a perpetual chase for something more.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's that balance between like risk and comfort that there's kind of times where I think you need to lean one way or the other, and times where you need to lean back, or you lean whichever way you feel as though you need to at the time, right?
But yeah, I was very, very comfortable, and I wasn't abundant by any means, but my head was above water with business. I could pay rent, could pay my bills, could live a somewhat fun life, but I was just cruising. I was very, at times, it bred complacency and was just cruising. And I think for me to take that next step for where I wanted to get with my business and success and income and just everything else, it was time to like stop chasing multiple rabbits and just lean into
make the one thing
just chasing one thing. And then a few things happened last year which meant that I had a lot of I guess I had like hundreds, like nearly like $1,000 of flight credit, and I said, all right, I'm gonna next year do another trip to Europe. Like I've got a few friends over there that are on the final years of their visas. Like it'd be good to one more time spend that time with them there and maybe do a bit of travel as well. But then there was a realization towards the end of 2024 that I didn't have the money to go over there for another holiday. Didn't make sense from a business perspective to sort of just stop growing that here for a few months and then go again for another holiday. So I just thought, like, why not take the business over there instead of going for another few week to maybe a couple of month holiday? Just go for a longer stint. You can take your business over there, grow to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that otherwise wouldn't have got to connect with you and get helped by you. You can have little periods of travel sprinkled throughout, and then you get to have this amazing experience. It satiates that need to live in another country. And then I'll be back for the summer next year. I've got like 3 weddings in 4 weeks at the start of the year, so I will be back. Mum turned 60 as well, so I'll try and link that all up.
Yeah, good.
And then at this stage, the plan is to be back and stay. But like
see what happens.
I've had conversations with a few people, you just don't know what will happen.
It's a pretty cool look at the next 9 months as like, all right, I'm going all in. You can properly commit to doing what you've wanted to do over the last few years anyway, and then if it goes great, you've got a life that you love living, or if it goes great, you've either got a life that you love living to come back to, or you've got the life you've created over there, or you've got a mix of the two. So you kind of, I think when you told me what early Jan, it was like, you can't really lose. Yeah,
literally. It's been hard to walk away from here. Like just loving being at Virty and always have. And like the summer on the peninsula, like it's sort of made me realize like I think back to late 2020 to early 2021 when I was interning here and realised that this is what I wanted to do, and that was the logical sort of next step and next chapter. I'm sort of living everything that I imagined I would. Like summer on the peninsula is the best time of year. Like I'm walking distance. I'm a 5-minute walk to the beach, and I can do like the sunrise swims or sunset swims, and being one of the main coaches here at Virty and living with the house of amazing people, beautiful house, like everything that I wanted, I'm doing. But then it sort of made me realise like there's some of that stuff I took for granted and I thought I would be doing that I haven't really done much of.
Yeah. In terms of like that, like the idealistic version of your life was like you were doing the sunset swims.
Yeah. Wake up early and go for a swim and get a coffee, which all that stuff I can do. And I've done it maybe 5 times. So I've made myself like a little peninsula bucket list of stuff I'm just going to really maximise whilst I'm here. So I spend as much time at Virty as I can training. Even like the stuff we're doing with partnerships, like it was cool to get to go out to schools and present seminars. Like I'd watch when I was in uni and I'd follow people that were in the position I wanted to be. I'd watch them have sporting clubs in at the gym and running group sessions. It was cool to get to do all that stuff and then mentor the interns, all this stuff that I would admire of people that were in the position that I wanted to be. I was doing like just everything I was doing, I was living, and I sort of took that for granted until the move came closer and closer. It's like
when you realise you're not going to have those things
it's like,
anymore.
Shit, I've got everything I want. Why am I stepping into this? But then I realise maybe in 10 years' time.
Well, it's a growth focus step forward, right? Like you go, all right, I'm intentionally going to be uncomfortable because I know that it will build your container as a human in terms of what your capacity is. Like I've always loved the quote. I've just forgotten what it was. I always love the quote that there's the fundamental delusion is there's one thing that will make you happy and fulfilled forever. Like we've always got to be like, sometimes it's okay to, I look at it as like we're always in a phase of either contraction or expansion. And like, like I feel like over the last couple of years, I've been in a big contraction phase because the focus has been on the girls and been on like, how do we make sure that we balance work and being parents and all of the other expectations and things that come with that. And, you've felt that with that complacency maybe where you were like in that contraction for maybe a little bit too long.
Yep.
And then it's like, all right, well, that expansion phase again is like, oh, what am I doing? Who am I talking to? What am I exposing myself to? What am I experiencing now that is different or challenging to my current state of being?
Yeah.
And because I think that dissonance, there's only a certain amount of time where you can sit in that, and that dissatisfaction you've almost got to like intentionally lean into, because it's helpful. It allows us to level up, whether it's, by focusing on health or travel or whatever. So
absolutely,
it's a pretty cool move. From that aspect, I think in like almost intentionally, you're just taking your own advice, but like intentionally putting yourself in a space where you have to adapt.
It is, yeah. As I said, I could very much stay in the state I am for years and sort of just have my head above water and just sort of cruise along and still live a great life.
Yeah.
But
well, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like right now, if that's not what is vibing with you, or is not where you want to be, brilliant. Yeah. Talk us through. So obviously, a lot of the Virtus members who haven't been here for a long period of time have only known you as a Virtus coach. So talk us through like maybe what brought you to Virtus in terms of like what brought you down to the peninsula from Ballarat and what your focus was and what you wanted to create for yourself.
Yeah, it very much draws parallels to what I'm doing right now. It was just, I was very comfortable. I was probably the main PT at the biggest gym in Ballarat and was comfortable and was in the same position right now. I was not abundant, but was just comfortable, could cruise along. But didn't really enjoy the environment I was in regards to like Ballarat. And there's this saying...
Cop that, anyone from Ballarat.
And well, like it was great when I was at uni there because like you're living with a heap of your best mates and it's like a little mini country town, I guess. Yeah. But they all moved away. Some of them moved to London, some moved to Geelong. Me doing either of those things would have just been me following my friends rather than me following what I actually wanted to do. So I stayed in Ballarat for a little bit and very quickly realised it was a similar thing. It's like, nah, this isn't it. I'm not going to be a PT here for the rest of my life.
What do you think is like innate in you that like makes you make that leap of faith?
Well, in Ballarat, there was a logical next step because I was already interning at Virtus. I knew one of the former coaches at Virtus who used to come down and consult in Ballarat every now and then. So there was a period.
Get around Coach Cam?
Coach Cam. I tweaked my back and Coach Cam was consulting in Ballarat. So I went and saw him and I was following Virtus on Instagram for ages actually, just like a little lurker, and realised that Cam worked at Virtus. And then I actually had a girlfriend at the time, and she was from Rosebud, but like moved to Hamilton, and that's how we met and got together. But during COVID, mid-2020, I'd always like go to Rosebud and see her, and realised, like Mornington, that's that gym. Yeah, they follow on Instagram. Maybe I'll pop in and see them one time when they reopened from COVID. Yeah, and then and we split up and whatnot. But I'm like, like I was travelling all that way to go and see her. I can travel maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes less, and maybe intern at this place and see what comes of that. And then realised that that saying like if you're smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's sort of how I felt at Ballarat. Not to fucking disparage, not to disparage the other coaches and whatnot, but like, I just felt like this was the next step for me to grow because I knew probably wasn't where I needed to be from a knowledge and application and business standpoint. This was just the next best step, and always at that time wanted to get out of the commercial gym environment and step into more of the private sector, which at the time the people that I was following and the people that were in the positions that I wanted to be were working private sector and doing stuff with sporting clubs and out at schools. So that was the next step for me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I thought there was worse places to spend the summer and spend your life than on the peninsula, and that's where that that's where I envisioned that life.
You did the internship online, didn't you?
No, I did face to face.
Did you?
Because you just did an online one mid-2020 during COVID.
Yeah,
but then once you opened up, I started November 2020.
Oh, because you stayed with us for a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like you gave me a place to sort of rest my head 3 nights a week. And
I've forgotten way too much of the last 5 years.
It's when Lucy was just turning 1.
Yeah, true. Little pretzel head. Yeah, that's crazy.
But and that sort of made me realise it's the lifestyle I wanted to live, and and now I look back on that, and I'm sort of living that, but also taking it for granted.
Yeah, what's that like? sitting in that headspace of like, I wanted all of these things and now I've got them.
Yeah.
But still feeling dissatisfied.
Yeah, that was a tough one and still is a tough one to reconcile.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably as the move gets closer and closer, I sort of realise like, what am I doing? I could happily stay here, but I think there is still some untapped growth and whatnot, and it's not to say I'm leaving this forever.
Yeah.
It's just a little detour to grow more, and then hopefully come back an even better version of myself from a business and whatever standpoint.
Yeah, you're a big principles guy. So like, what are your like life principles that have helped kind of guide this decision making process?
One of them is, whether it's a principle or not, is like Parkinson's law, and whether this is actually the right application of that principle. I don't know. I could be butchering this, but it's essentially like your work capacity like expands to fill, I guess, the time or the pressure that you've got. Whereas where I am right now, I could just, it almost, as I said, breeds complacency. I could happily just sit back and cruise and not be abundant and probably not have the resources I want. Yeah. But I could happily just cruise with my head bobbing above
and
water.
Be close enough and everything's going pretty well.
Yeah. Or you step out of that into an environment where the Aussie dollar and everything I own is sliced in half.
Yeah, that's actually wild.
Cost of living is, I think, the worst in the world. Maybe behind like Hong Kong and Sydney, funnily enough.
There you go.
In London. Which is going to force me to really put the foot down and get to work and build and really test out my chops from like my business systems and sales and all that stuff. So whether that's the correct application of Parkinson's law, I don't know. But
that's pretty spot on, I think.
I'm going to have a real time squeeze and pressure squeeze to pull my finger out.
And you kind of have to make it work, right?
Like I have to build, otherwise I'm on a plane home in 3 months because I'm broken and I have nowhere to live.
Yeah, that's so wild. So what do you talk us through your plan? So this will come out next week. So we're mid to late March. You're leaving on the 29th
April
of
29th.
You finish up in Virtus on the 12th.
Yeah. Well, probably the 19th. Well, no, the Easter weekend.
17th.
Let's say Easter Thursday.
Yeah.
Tyler's last shift, so get in there. Maybe. I'll definitely pop in some.
Yeah, that'll be your last shift because I'm going away that day, so it's yours.
I'll pop in for some Good Friday.
Yes.
Sessions and some Easter sessions. So I think I'll still be here over Easter. Then I think the 21st, April 21st, Easter Monday is when my room will get taken over, and I'll be out, and I'll head to Hamilton for 7 or 8 days.
Go see the fam and then home. Yeah, wild.
Then we fly out on the 29th,
what does the first month of landing in London look like for you?
Yeah, so I'll probably Airbnb for a day or so just to get over the jet lag and just get settled, and then I'm 90% sure I've got like a sublet sorted for a month, and then I have a mate with a vacancy in August, or he might even just move out and get a place with me. So
cool.
I just got to find somewhere until August, and then I also need to find work as well. So I've applied for a few jobs,
PT gigs.
Just PT gigs. I had a offer from a joint called Equinox, which it does like speaking
they're
about
like top end gym,
so they're a very high end like boutique premium gym. That's like their USP, their unique selling point. Like just luxury and providing good experiences, which I thought aligned with me, but then I think back to the two pillars of the move, which are business and travel. Yeah, it doesn't align with those two pillars because they want me on as a permanent full-time employee, which
so you're missing out on a chunk of the travel.
There's going to be a non-compete clause where I can't do my online and can't go out and work with tennis coaches and stuff, which is another big pillar of my business, which I want to lean into. And then it makes travel pretty hard as well. Yeah. So I just want to find a freelance PT gig just at a busy commercial gym and build from there.
So if any of our international listeners have a job in London, hit him up.
Help me out, please. So I've sent out like a few little video, I guess, introductions and resumes, to a few places.
But I guess this is the wonderful thing about the way the world works now, right? You could literally just like pick your top 20 that you want to work at, send them a video on Insta and be like, just wind up the Aussie accent a little bit.
Absolutely. When I was there last time, I put a lot of mayo on it. I think there's already a lot of mayo on it. So, but I've sent out a few videos, but I've just come to the realization that it may just be a matter of literally getting in front of them.
Yeah. What most scares you about the next 3 to 6 months?
How hard I'm gonna have to fucking work.
Yeah.
Which excites me and frightens isn't the right word, but yeah, it'll be stressful.
Yeah, I reckon it might have been the second, third Virtus podcast ever with Greg. We spent half an hour talking about what scares and excites you. That's where you need to lean into. So yeah. I reckon that's perfect. What about like outside of how hard you got to work? What excites you about like the possibilities of this move?
That they are limitless. We haven't spoken about it yet, but like tennis is a demographic that I want to lean into. Like it was my favourite and probably most successful sport I was at, if that makes sense, growing up.
Yep.
And sort of just got a bit lost to the game and fell out of love with it. But recently, as I said, coming back from overseas, I needed an outlet that was anything other than strength training, coaching. Yeah. So I went back into that and rediscovered my love of it. And it's done a bit of research. There's no one really doing tennis S&C online, and the ones that are, I think, are doing it really, really poorly. So it's a demographic I understand, and sport I love and understand, and I think I can do it very, very well.
Yeah, good.
So probably right now, 80% of my client base is just general population, 20% is tennis, 80% is face-to-face, 20% is online. I just want to flip those two things.
Yeah, I love that.
I think I went on a tangent there. What was your OG question?
What excites you?
Yeah. So building
that.
The potential with that, because it's a big tennis, like bigger than Australia. Australia's got a pretty big tennis playing population, so it's massive. And just seeing what comes of that.
Yeah. Was that like, obviously, talk me through that process to like follow that niche or follow that like particular target market? Like, it's obviously, is it both the business side and the passion side, or is it like driven by one of the two?
Definitely both. Probably more so passion. Like I find it, like going back to social media, I really struggle posting every single day, which unfortunately is like
success leaves almost the world.
Success leaves clues, and if you want a successful online business, like the clues say, posting,
being present online,
being present online is a pretty big factor. I have struggled to do that for the past few years, like almost just throwing shit at a wall and just hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
But I found myself very like creatively bankrupt. But leaning into this, I could sit there and, which again I haven't really done, so it's on me.
So
but I could sit there.
This is us holding you accountable to us seeing it most days when you're not here.
Absolutely, I could.
If I don't see your fucking lid on the little screen, I'm going to be really upset.
You will. But I could sit there. I could have 365 days of tennis content just done. But whereas when you're speaking to such a broad demographic, which I was doing before, it's like just throwing shit at the wall. Like, am I speaking to body composition clients? Am I speaking to fat loss? Am I speaking to other coaches? Like, I was just talking.
It is hard.
I was talking shit. Like, I think some of the stuff was good, but it was just.
Well, you kind of you hit a good thing every couple of posts or every couple of reels where you're like, I'm actually talking about something I give a shit about. Yeah. Which is the ones that roll off the tongue, and then you like feel like you're pushing shit uphill to try and get more content out. Whereas
every day you wake up and you're behind again.
Yeah. In reality, if you're like talking about the shit that you care about, all of us can talk underwater.
It's effortless, and it almost becomes like a video. Like I've heard people use the video game analogy when it comes to business. And you just got to level up and see it as like you're just trying to fucking tick off achievements and whatnot. I never saw it like that until I started leaning into this, and it's like, oh, this is actually fun, like building this out, and I want this to be my sole focus.
Yeah. Not to make you too nostalgic, but what are you going to miss the most?
Waking, and again, not that I do this much at all, but
having the capacity to
having the ability to wake up and walk and maybe go for a swim and get a coffee, which I've done maybe no more than 10 times, but I have the ability
to do it 10 more times in the next month.
Yeah, I will. And then come into Virtus and hang out and talk shit and maybe do a little bit of training, play with the girls.
Yeah.
Just the stuff that I moved here to do.
Yeah.
Mentoring the interns, which I'm doing a lot more of now in probably the past 12 to 18 months. Yeah. Go up to the footy.
Yeah, good.
I love being so close to Melbourne that I can do that, but not
Tigs.
close enough that I'm actually living in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. You going this weekend?
Nah, we got Port.
Oh, at Port, yeah. Gross.
Chance, though.
Yeah, you'd probably get up. Fucking Adelaide will burn down if you...
They're yuck.
Yeah, gross. Yeah, awesome, man. It's super exciting because I think, like, so many people, and I feel as though we as coaches we kind of have these conversations with people relatively regularly around like not liking their job or not liking their uni course or not liking what they're doing. And I don't think there's ever been anyone that's like moved away or quit a job or done something different and regretted it, because it creates this space of like, what do I actually want to do? What do I actually want my life to look like? And like essentially now you get to lean into creating a life by design because you want to be uncomfortable and because you are hunting growth. So like a big part of, I think, you as a person is you're always looking to level up. You're always doing courses or working with a mentor or anything. How is that kind of headspace inform this decision, but then also like what your week looks like? Because I think you've done so much PD over the last few years. You're someone that I reckon all of our interns, like they already learn massive amounts off you from a technical sense, but almost like it's, for me, I see you and it's almost like you're just who you are ingrained is like, I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to build, but you never, what am I trying to say? You never, not exploring that. So what kind of drives that? And then like, how do you kind of quantify what to learn or lean into?
That's a very good question. When I got back from overseas in 2023, can you ask the question another way, actually?
Yeah. Why is learning so important to you?
Before I go down the wrong rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, that is other than your ability to connect and build relationships and get buy-in and trust, like that's your most valuable asset is the value that you can provide and how much you can help someone, which is like there is a experiential element to that. You need to actually experience taking someone through it, and you need to do the thing, but you need to know how as well.
Yeah.
And as you said, I've been doing like there's always some sort of upskill or seminar or course that I've been doing, like ever since I started.
It's
here.
been consistent.
There's always been something
the whole time, right?
that I've been doing. But when I first started here, and this was more for me to get my foot in the door of Virtus rather than me following something I wanted to do. I chatted. Mitch was always on me when I was interning, like just asking for a job. I was like, nah. I sort of planted the seed at the start, and he said, "There's nothing. Like I won't."
Yeah.
He said, "Look, we have this gap here. I think you'd be able to fill it. Just plant that to him, and it'll get him thinking."
Yeah.
So I sort of planted the seed about how I could fill in the gap of being like a partnerships manager and growing those relationships with schools, businesses, clubs, and that became my sole thing I was focusing on, which at the time I loved. And this is one of my someone that I've learnt off in the past named Carl Goodman. He talks about missionaries and mercenaries, where mercenaries are, I think he uses the term opportunistic, and they're looking for quick fixes, money, whereas a mercenary will just help and provide value. It was probably very mercenary behavior, whereas I just saw a gap and saw the opportunity for big potential,
which kind of allowed us to step forward into that space, right? Which then, like you've spent the last probably 12 months being more of a missionary,
absolutely,
in this space.
And so my sole role, and my sole focus was partnerships manager, which at the time when I first started, I thought it was really cool, but it was so far removed from why I got in the industry. And then I sort of started to fall out of love with it and fall out of love with my work, and then the quality, not only in that partnership space fell, but probably my quality of coaching on the floor and just quality of everything that I was doing. And speaking about when I was overseas, I learnt what I wanted to do with my time. Not once did I think, fuck, I can't wait to get back and sell to businesses, sell to corporates, and beg a business owner for 5 minutes of his time that thinks he's too busy to even breathe in my direction. Yeah. And Anna, who used to she an EP? Used to EP out of here. She was sort of helping me at the time. And like not long after a touchdown, like got a message from Anna, like, hey, like keen to catch up, keen to see what you've got in the pipeline. I was like, oh God, like
haven't even thought about it.
Again. Like, haven't thought about it. Don't care, to be quite honest. And we'd sort of worked together for maybe a month or two after I got back, and that was just when the ball dropped. I'm like, fuck, this ain't it. Yeah. And she was just trying to be helpful, but it's important. It's
important, like, lesson to just do the shit that you care about, that you're actually passionate about, because like, yes, you're right, you can be a mercenary, you can fake it for a while, or you can like do it because you know it helps, right? You know that you're like, what you're trying to sell essentially is a good product and it's a good thing, but if you don't have the kind of, if there's dissonance there with like the way you're doing, or not even the way you're doing, but what you're doing, you're not going to be successful in terms of like where you end up.
Yeah, like the service is the same, but your language and the person you're speaking to and how you speak to them. Like I just didn't want to be speaking to, or don't take it the wrong way, but like working with that sort of corporate avatar. That's not why I got into the business. It's not why I got into the industry. And I was almost becoming more of a desk worker.
It is very transactional, right?
Almost felt myself becoming like a corporate.
Writing your desk all day.
It's funny. I was sitting in a meeting at Common Folk with Anna and Troy McDonough.
Yeah.
And this is not long after I got back from overseas. I used to have long hair back then, and just for a bit of a piss take, I got all the sides. So there'll be a picture of it somewhere. I got all like the sides shaved and just left the back, so like a big disgusting mullet that was running for a bit. Pretty much a more disgusting version of what I've got now. I was sitting at a table at Common Folk with Troy and Anna, who were all dressed up and looking proper.
Talking about corporate, and you're just like, not me.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was. I want to say Paul Wintle. I think it was Paul Wintle. After the meeting, I was just talking to him. He's like, God, you looked out of place there. I was like, I felt out of place.
Yeah. But I think that's important because, like, and you're right. There wasn't a spot. There wasn't necessarily space you Virtus on the coaching team.
Yeah.
But you kind of came to me and said, "Why don't we do this as a thing?" Because I think we'd come along to a couple of like a school program,
did
and
a
school
club program, and then went out to Lilydale Falcons.
Yeah, and then. Yeah, it was like, well, this isn't a part of our business. It's just kind of something we do as, people ask and things like that. But if you want to build it or if you want to like lean into it, then I'm more than happy to help facilitate that. And I think there's and one thing I've learned over the years, because there's been so many great interns or so many people who reach out, be like, hey, I'd love a job. Or I'd love to work at Virtus, which is awesome. And I don't take that like responsibility lightly, or that it feels really good, but like if we tried to hire everyone, it just wouldn't work, right? You end up with everyone's got an hour each, and you're like, all right, let's all contribute. So I think and this goes for all our current interns or anyone who's looking to add value to a business or connect with a business, is like figure out a way how you can grow the pie so that you can have a chunk of it, because you end up the chunks of the pie get smaller and smaller and smaller the more people you add. And there needs to be a way of, well, this is how I contribute, or this is how I grow the business, whether it be from a cultural perspective or a revenue perspective or whatever. And you were able to do that relatively quickly, which then created space for us to go, well, yeah, absolutely. We got, there's space in our coaching team. And then obviously you've leaned into that over the last few years. So I think it's like there's so much value in the value you were able to add because you actually contributed to it.
Yeah, as I said, it was more of a way for me to get my foot in the door so I could be out on the coaching floor, which was great. And then I've also got this other thing that, in a way I got myself into. It's like, right, I need to, Lockie's invested in like business development and business coaching, and like all the other stuff that we've invested into it, like invested into me, and I need to, and still feel like I haven't really paid that back and didn't get it to a point where it had potential to go, and there's a part of me that feels bad and wants to pay that back.
Nothing.
But
no need to feel bad, because I think this is the distance side of things. Like, I'm someone that started my own business because I wanted to run, I wanted to work for myself, and I wanted to do things the way I wanted to do them. And I see what the pathway you've been on the last few years is, like, you're doing exactly what I wanted to do, or exactly what I did. So I've nothing but respect and appreciation for everything you've done for Virtus, and everything you've done for your business that you're growing for yourself, right? Because I can't. It's like me getting grumpy at you for doing the same shit I would do. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think you know what you want, which I think is most important, or at least you're figuring out what you want. And there's always been super clear, honest, open conversation both ways around what's working and what's not, and things like that. So, has our partnerships gone the way we were hoping? Probably not, but have we been able to help a bunch of people and move the needle? Absolutely. So
and there's still partnerships that are ongoing in the background as well that are absolutely thriving.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably not as many as I envisioned, but like the ones that are humming along pretty well. And I hope someone one day can step back into that role and actually really make something of it. So I've just spent probably the last 12 months like stepping back from trying to grow more partnerships and just nurturing the ones we've got, and then trying to just pay it back to Virtus in other ways, like whether it be mentoring the interns or like just trying to pay it back as much as I can,
which we love
in other ways.
Yeah, awesome. Talk me through your coaching business and what the plans are for how you want to grow it. Obviously, like more tennis, more online, but like how do you actually want it to look?
Yeah, as I said, I've probably got 80% face-to-face, 20 online at the moment. I want to flip that. So at the moment, it's just I sell it isn't the right word. I explain it to people, articulate it by like it is a business that operates in like a face-to-face and online capacity to help tennis players get to where they want to be with their on-court potential, like not just through S&C, but like a holistic approach. That become a bit of a buzzword that I've fallen out of love with in recent times.
Yeah.
But nurturing not just their strength and conditioning, but their nutrition, mindset, habits, like everything that's going to actually get them to where they want to be. So totem is derived from a Latin word, which and like why Latin? Because there were two gyms back probably when I got that up and running that were influential on me. One being a place that actually doesn't exist anymore called Exalto Performance in the Sunshine Coast, which is derived from a Latin word meaning to exalt, to grow, and then obviously Virtus as well. So like went with the Latin.
We love Latin.
Went with the Latin theme. Totem just is derived from like totality, so wholeness. Cool. So a way of.
You should talk about that more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like I reckon I knew that, but I don't reckon I've heard you talk about it for years.
Yeah. Not many people would know that.
Yeah.
Where was it going with that? So it's a business that exists to holistically get tennis players to where they want to be.
Yeah. So tennis players, hit him up. Get around
Absolutely.
it.
So there were many layers to that question that I avoided. I went on a tangent again.
No, that's all right. I can't remember what the question was. Shit. I think I'm super. I mean, overall, like I wanted to get you on today to like talk about like what you were doing and why you were doing it and things like that. What is the next? And like, I know it's very open and super ambiguous, but like, so this time next year and moving forward, do you know what country you want to be in? Do you know what you want your week to look like? Like anything like that? Like what's the? Because I think you've almost got this like next 9 months kind of like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, the next 9 months is very much just in that chamber of trying to build and grow and trying to make sure I don't get evicted from wherever I'm living in London, whilst also not taking for granted where I am and similar to when I moved here, not taking for granted and actually doing the travel and making sure there are some trips booked so doesn't just become this thing where I've moved to London and just leaning into business. I want to very much lean into the travel side as well. But then, I imagine I get back in 12 months' time and I tick off the weddings and stuff that I've got in early March. And then after that, whether I've fully realised this or not, I want to be on my way to having probably 20 to 25 online tennis clients. Maybe a handful of just general population that want to get stronger or lose weight or whatever. And then that grants me the flexibility to not have to be in London to go and nurture my face-to-face clients, or not have to be anywhere to go and work with face-to-face clients. I can go and do their check-ins and whatnot from anywhere in the world, and it's not a matter of it's not to say like I'll just be traveling all the time, but maybe Mornington is my base, and then I have the flexibility in July when it's miserable and wet and cold. It's like, right, I can actually go to
best time of year.
I can go to Queensland or whatever for a month, or Bali, or I can actually go on another Europe trip for a couple of months without
digital
having to
nomad things.
Literally, it's. I don't think it's going to be a matter of I'm just going to be on the road all the time. Like I will have a base, and right now I envision that being here, the peninsula. But I have the flexibility to do that, and maybe come back and do some stuff with the interns, or like if you need someone for a club program or something, I can step into and do the stuff I really want to do, but without having to rely on getting up at stupid o'clock to do PTs or
PTs you don't necessarily want to be doing,
or do like 5 or 6 coaching shifts a week. My base 80% of my income is just the online check-in side of things, and then
exciting.
The other 20% is filled with the stuff that I love doing from a face-to-face standpoint. So seminars. Club sessions.
You presented to the Anytime PTs the other day.
Yeah, that was
how'd that go?
That was a cool little milestone. I look back on one of our old. We do like monthly check-ins, and we have like goals and stuff that we want to tick off. And one of them I did when I first started, it was like to be like be an industry leader, and not see myself that way, and like do seminars.
You should first of all
do seminars to people that have sort of reached out and want to experience that, other than sort of our interns that are in our ecosystem. So that was a cool little milestone. It was the first seminar I'd done to a group of coaches that didn't know me and didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Yeah, I've had a contract at any time for a while now because I train at a commercial gym because there's obviously some machines and whatnot that we don't have access to.
Me
here.
too, baby.
So I'd been connected with the PT manager there for a little bit, just on a surface level, just chatting as you do. And so he followed me on social media, and I think it was driven by, like, I film the seminars that we do for our interns and just clip them up and put them on our socials. So I think he'd probably seen that and just reached out and said, hey, like, do you do seminars? Like, we're looking at doing some for our PT team here at any time. Would love for you to be involved. And
That's pretty cool.
I said, yeah, I've got these 3 things built out, which I didn't have built out. I then got to work building them out. Well, actually, I had the principles one built out. Cause
you've been sharpening that sword for a few internship intakes.
Yeah. And
it's a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you. So we did a double presentation. So talked for 2 hours straight, which I wouldn't imagine I'd been able to do.
What'd you present on?
It was an hour of the sort of fundamental training and coaching principles, and then an hour of programming and application. Because I think coaches get really, really confused. One, people get confused about like what actually drives their progress, what's going to actually help them get better at sport or lose weight or gain muscle or get fatter if they want to get fatter.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of that because in the social media era, there's all these different methods and exercises and ways of doing things, which are probably all relatively valid, but people don't realize the magic isn't actually in the exercise or the method or the programming structure. That's not where the magic is. The magic is in the framework and the foundation that underpins that. So it was just helping those coaches reconnect with what matters. But then, like, it was realizing, like, it's all good to have this foundation and framework, but some people do want some actual applicable, like, substance to it. So we dove into programming. I started it with the caveat of, like, I get a little bit uncomfortable doing the programming one because the reality is, as long as it's built on a good foundation and framework of principles, your rationales for programming would just be every bit as valid as mine. But here are some stuff that helps me. I hope it helps you too, but don't lose sight of the principles and the framework for these methods. Like, methods are many, but
I think you kind of like, you've been in the industry a long time now. We kind of get to the point where you're like, fuck, none of it really matters.
Nah.
But you have to go through thinking that every little bit matters and to get to that realization. So I think that, like you spoke before about, like, experiential learning, you only really get to that by programming for thousands of people over a decade, and by programming different things and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and creating your own, like, set of belief systems or principles that help drive or help direct what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, one of the slides in the programming one was, like, when you're staring at a blank canvas, like, what do you do? And I just said, like, there is nothing wrong with having templates, because templates are literally just your amalgamation of what has worked for the hundreds of people that you've worked with and what you've seen work. Like, it's not cookie cutter. It's not plug and play. Like, oh, okay, I've got a 16-year-old tennis athlete here, so I'm going to give them what I gave to my other 16-year-old tennis athlete. No, that's stupid. It's just, you've got your framework and then you just build off.
Here's my fundamentals and here's how I need to tweak it.
Yeah, and you tweak it based off the person you've got in front of you, rather than just like, oh, I gave this 16-year-old tennis athlete this. Yeah. I'm going to give it to this one as well. You adapt to sort of their training age and their experiences, maybe their injury history, what they like, what they don't like. And then you just embracing the fact you're never going to nail a perfect program from week one. You just won't. Like, it's just this constant refining, checking in. How did that go? How did that feel? What worked? What didn't? Tweak.
Yeah, and there's always ways to adapt and tweak it based around the person, right? Because we, fundamentally now we're at the stage where you're like, well, if people enjoy it, we're kind of like 3/4 of the way there.
You're winning, yeah.
And then we make sure we're making progress and tracking data in some way, shape or form, even though Gemma doesn't like tracking data. Just had a conversation with her on the gym floor, which we love. Yeah. And then we go, all right, are we getting better? Are we enjoying it? Are we moving forward? Rinse and repeat, freshen it up, and go from there.
Oh, there's a saying about I sort of went blank there while you were talking because I was trying to think of this quote about tracking data, and it's not coming to me at the moment. What gets measured gets managed.
There you go. Forget. Start and finish the same way. Beautiful, mate. Love your work. It's been an absolute pleasure over the last 4 years.
It has.
Don't be a stranger. Like I said, there's always going to be a place for you at Virtus. You know that. You might have to work twice as much and get paid half as much, but that's all right.
Fine. Well, hopefully I'll be in a position where that doesn't actually matter. It's fine.
So you'll we'll get around you going away in a couple of weeks. And
April the 12th, it's open invite.
Yeah, get here.
Invite, just pop in. have a beer or have a soft drink or a soda water, whatever you want. I might order some pizzas and we'll all hang out.
Love it. Beautiful. Any more? Anything you want to say to the Virty fam?
Thank you for getting around me. It didn't take long. Like when I first started and did my first couple of coaching shifts, where you feel a bit like, not that other people were thinking this, you feel a bit funny and like, they're not going to want to get coached by me, or I'm worried I'm going to say something that maybe contradicts what their head coach Mitch has told them, so I'll just sort of stand back, and it was very stand backish, and it didn't take me long to sort of feel like I could step into like a really really confident coaching role where people sort of respected me and listened, and it didn't take me long to feel like part of the family at all. So thank you for giving me a family away from my family.
Love it.
Yeah,
good from you.
Thank you very much.
Be amazing.
Have a good day.